What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the DC Cinematic Universe? Welcome to the discussion of what news has kind of come out recently, but news that has been discussed for a little while now, but with a new Variety piece with the headline of Warner Brothers Discovery exploring overhaul of DC Entertainment, with it carrying on to say the new owners of all things Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment, multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. And now people are thinking and feeling lots of different things, and the whole kind of Feige comment in this article, people are like, yeah, DC are kind of, you know, they're getting their Feige now. It's all going to be like the MCU. People are thinking that, but it's not quite what you think there, really. So I'm here to give my take on the situation and what really is going on there. And some people are having concerns about upcoming DC projects, such as, does this put anything in danger? Is the Batman going to continue in the way that Matt Reeves wants it to, and things like that? So let's talk about this. Let's dive in a little bit deep. And I would love all of your opinions and thoughts down in the comments below as usual. I'm going to provide a couple of screenshots because I want to dissect a few things which are being taken out of context just a little bit, or some people getting carried away, and you guys know how it is on social media such as Twitter, lots of reposts and here and there and the other, lots of people just take that as the law of the situation. And I'm not trying to pretend to be the arbiter of, oh, this is exactly what's happening, but I just see a lot of, oh, they're going to MCUify everything now and whatnot, but that's really not the case. Variety continued to say that it's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most venerable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, David Zaslav, the CEO of combined companies and top leadership, have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical, the sources said. So this is where everyone's like, okay, so like they're really, you know, looking, they've got their freaking sights up, and they're like, right, this is what we're going to do with DC Entertainment. We've come in, we don't like the way it's been handled before, and this is where it continues to get interesting, you could say. And the next part of the article gets some people concerned, with Variety saying the move would potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series at Warner Brothers Television, and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero staple, one often seen as punching up against Marvel. Now, obviously, with the way this is written, don't get overly concerned about the whole this move potentially overhauling DC Entertainment. They further clarify in a moment, which, you know, definitely speaks to a lot more sense than what people are starting to panic about. You know, with the feature film development maybe being potentially affected, the streaming series at Warner Brothers, that doesn't mean that certain things aren't going to happen. That doesn't mean that the Batman 2 isn't going to happen. You know, long story short here, if you're here for that, the sequel for the Batman is coming. This doesn't remotely affect that. Discovery aren't coming in with one of the most recent films making a big success from Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, and everyone in that cast, and being like, no, yeah, our big overhaul of DC Entertainment, yeah, the Batman isn't a part of it. Also cancel the HBO Max Penguin series. Also cancel the Arkham series that's coming to HBO. No, that's not going to happen. If anything, as we're about to get into, the clarification comes with them really just wanting to iron out the creases, as I've aforementioned. Not necessarily what I would say, or probably what they view as, with Warner Bros. Beforehand fumbling their way about it. Sure, Peacemaker's been a great hit, even, you know, The Suicide Squad and things like that. It seems like they've been starting to make good steps in the right direction. The Batman, Joker, Warner Brothers definitely did think, okay, you know, we're still carrying on the DC Cinematic Universe with Wonder Woman 1984, Aquaman, you know, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and of course, the Flash movie. In addition to that, they did these separate projects like Joker and things like that. But that doesn't mean that they haven't fumbled here and there, and this is mainly the core of what is being spoken about here with this DC overhaul. So this is where things get pretty interesting, and I've, you know, underlined in red the most important part. So before the merger closed, Zaslav, I hope I'm not butchering that name, vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual property with a goal of potentially finding someone to serve as a creative and strategic czar similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. Now this is where everyone is obviously kind of like, they're getting their Kevin Feige, but this is where there's a quote at the bottom of this which kind of clarifies what that means. It goes on to say here, skipping out that little middle bit about a candidate who they thought could be doing this kind of thing, but one insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru like Feige. Just to interject here, he's less interested in finding someone like Feige, a creative guru to like handle everything like Feige has been the overseer and overlord of the MCU. So carrying on, one insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to keep all the different factions at DC working more harmoniously. Now, that is the key thing. What DC has going, and the reason why people shouldn't be running off, you know, and retweeting this down here, oh, they're getting a Feige kind of thing that I've kept going on about in this video, is because that last little sentence or two there talks about how if they were truly getting a Feige, they were, and doing this MCU template, they would be saying that. But that bottom line there says he's less interested in finding this Feige creative guru type person and more interested in someone, and no matter what you view at the end of the day, just because it's stating here someone who has a type of business background needed to keep all of the different factions at DC working more harmoniously, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get good future movies, shows and stuff. What this is at the end of the day is a business. That is really the bottom line here. Movies, entertainment, comics, shows, whatever. You need somebody who doesn't only understand the space in a creative way, but maybe not all out creative guru as what they've said Zaslav is less interested in, but somebody who is a bit more business-minded and who can navigate the waters of what Warner Bros. Has previously been fumbling a bit, which, you know, is needless to say. I don't need to explain how they've kind of fumbled their way throughout the movies. Granted, they've had shining beacons of success here and there, of course. I'm not disregarding that, but the focal point of this is somebody who is more business-minded would be able to navigate this in a very successful way and capitalize on the somewhat more branding front, if you will, because no matter what successes you want to count and put on the trophy shelf that Warner Bros. Has had in the past 10 years of DC movies, it's, as I keep mentioning and repeating, not been as successful, to be honest, as the Feige kind of thing. Now, DC can still be very successful with this overhaul of DC Entertainment that Discovery are looking to do, with finding their own kind of person, less of a creative guru, as I keep going on about, and as the article states, but somebody who can still achieve their own independent success, not copy the MCU template, but also someone who's business-minded will be able to capitalize upon the branding that will distinguish its identity, because it does specifically highlight here to keep all the different factions at DC working harmoniously. They're acknowledging that, okay, we've got the DCEU, but there are different factions of DC in DC Entertainment. You know, there is, you know, the Arrowverse, that's its own little faction. You know, Marvel really mainly at the minute now, the difference here between that and why this isn't a Feige situation is because they are truly two different companies doing their own two different things. Because Marvel has the MCU Disney Plus shows, sure, you've had Daredevil and stuff before that, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but like now they're really going in with those new Marvel Disney Plus shows that are canon to the MCU. You have the MCU. What does DC have? Well, you have its own little Arrowverse pocket thing there. Oh, you have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker over here. Oh, you have Matt Reeves' frickin' Batman over there with a couple more movies, at least, on the way. Oh, you also have a DC cinematic universe. Do you see what I mean? They just want somebody who is not only able to look after this and iron out the creases of what has previously been fumbled with a success and a failure kind of here and there, but somebody to make all of these projects work harmoniously together with a bit more care, a bit more capitalization in the right area. With that, DC could, like, there's so much potential in this brand, and that is what Discovery is seeing here. I think everyone knows that already. It's just Warner Brothers have been like, it's almost like give too many books to a kid to like take down to the other class, and they're just kind of dropping them left, right, and center. They've not known or had someone, and that's why they kind of used the Feige example in this article. Like, I get why people are referencing that everywhere and kind of running off of it, because the word was spoken. And they're less interested in finding a creative guru, but more what we've been talking about, somebody who has a bit more of a business kind of like, okay, how can we actually make this work and make money? Variety goes on to say here that insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest in no small part on unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and The Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Discovery believes that several top-shelf characters such as Superman have been left to languish and need to be revitalized. They also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are a shining example of how second-build characters from the DC library can and should be exploited. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another example. And that really just complements everything I've been saying. Like, right now, I mean, to be fair to Warner Brothers, they do have some Superman things going on in the works, like maybe a Val Zod kind of thing going on. But then you could argue it's just like, maybe Discovery are thinking, why haven't we made this work with Henry Cavill? Now, we don't know every side to every part of the story, because supposedly rumors suggest that not only is Warner Brothers maybe not prepared to pay enough to Henry Cavill, but they've offered a certain amount, and maybe Henry Cavill's agent or manager thought that they were worth more, so they kind of both walked away from the table. I don't know the latest update there, but what they're thinking is, regardless, this is Superman, for crying out loud. And that's one thing the fans have understood. Even though they desperately, myself included, want Henry Cavill back for another Superman movie, they're probably thinking, no matter what we do, this is Superman. He is a gold mine. Granted, there's always going to be very critical eyes whenever it comes to any Superman adaptation, but they're just probably thinking, why is nothing other than Superman and Lois been happening with Superman, other than Zack Snyder's Justice League and everything like that? Why haven't we done something more with this? Why, as it says here, Discovery believes that several top-shelf characters, such as Superman, have been left to languish and need to be revitalized. They're like, what are you doing? Like, we're gonna do this, and that's a cool thing. I'm really looking forward to see. It just kind of says here again, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Now, they might reshuffle some things around, but that doesn't mean they're going to get rid of what you love. As I mentioned earlier, the Batman and stuff like that isn't going anywhere. I think, you know, to give you another weird-ass analogy of mine, imagine if you had a bunch of brand new, very, very expensive shoes on the floor. Different brands, because these are different characters, and they are very, very expensive. They're still brand new. They're not dirty. They're not muddy or anything, but they're just kind of messy on the floor. They're not organized as good as they could. Maybe some are, like some DC movies have been recently. You know, maybe they are organized a little bit, but hey, someone else walks in the room and is like, wait, why are you displaying your Jordans like this? You know, why don't you put that up there and organize it in that way and this way? And wait, why didn't you order that pair? We need to get that pair in your collection. Why haven't you done anything with these? Okay, I know it's a weird analogy, but these shoes, these characters, Discovery are just like, damn. Now that is a big, I'm not saying it's like a big claim to make, but granted, it's the only option they have. This is now their thing. So this is all they can say. Will they be successful? That is, you know, yet to be seen. But to be honest, this is all they can say, and something that should be said given the history of the way DC Entertainment has been handled. Granted, good things here and there, but clearly the potential has not been realized, and they are bloody aware of that. This is where some things get interesting as well, saying that DC has started to figure out ways for its big screen films to inspire more streaming content. Recent examples include the HBO Max show Peacemaker, which was a spin-off of The Suicide Squad, as well as an upcoming planned series on Colin Farrell's The Penguin and Gotham City's police force. Granted, I don't know why they included that there, because the GCPD series has been cancelled. Maybe the person who wrote this article isn't up to date there, but the GCPD police force thing has evolved into an Arkham series spinoff, and Matt Reeves has said that himself. Anyway, continuing on here, but the company believes that DC must do more to grow its approach to comic book fare, including bolstering gaming. That's an interesting one, because I do believe, to be honest, and I think a lot of gamers will agree here, and I as a gamer, you know, I like the Batman Arkham games quite a lot, grew up with those, but there is a, I'm not saying Superman game or a Flash game is easy to make. They are making other games like Gotham Knights. There's a Suicide Squad game coming out, Kills the Justice League or something, but it does feel like, okay, there is potential here. Why aren't we capitalizing more? Like, I think a Green Arrow Vigilante game would be sick. Like, you know, that's just me being a bit biased there. Maybe you could argue, yeah, but it's another Vigilante thing that might copy too much of the Arkham-styled series combat. I don't know, but they can find a way to make it work, I'm sure. We need more Green Arrow, I think, in the more, you know, mainstream. But that's, you know, I'm going off topic now. And lastly, continuing this off, it says, Underwater Hamada, who took over DC Films from John Berg and Jeff Johns in 2018, the unit has achieved more consistency in terms of both the critical and commercial reception to the company's movies. He is under contract until the end of 2023 and could play an important role in whatever Zaslav has planned. And there you have it. So that is basically the situation. I know it was a bit of a rambly video, but I just wanted to kind of solidify in how this doesn't mean the DC Cinematic Universe is going to be a Marvel Cinematic Universe. It doesn't mean that the Batman, Matt Reeves' Robert Pattinson Bruce Wayne is going to be merged as the Bruce Wayne of the DCEU. They just want someone, in all my weird-ass analogies, who can walk all the dogs at the same time whilst taking care of each one as much as the other one. That's a hard task, but they can see that characters like Superman have been kind of, you know, left out in the park and forced to sleep on the bench. And it's like, what are you doing? You have a gold mine here. Why haven't you made this work? Other characters like Joker, they like the idea of movies like that. Let's capitalize on a brand like that, maybe. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised there. I'm not saying that they should have milked that idea of an Elseworlds thing, but to not tangent too much here, I think a lot of us expected by now, why hasn't there been, just for example's sake, Lex Luthor kind of thing? You know, a Lex Luthor movie. What happened from childhood to manhood to make this man become the way he is in a Joker-esque story? Maybe it's easier said than done. Maybe they have had scripts that were submitted that just didn't maybe work out. But either way, they want a very firm, open-minded business person to take care of this, who can handle the reins. Someone like a Feige figure, as articulated in the article, but not necessarily the creative guru that Feige is. And ultimately, I think this is promising. It only means a good thing. It does need an overhaul of DC Entertainment. I don't think there's anything to worry about as of right now. If anything, you should be optimistic. This should mean good things for DC's future. It won't have an immediate effect, but hopefully this will be, you know, it's kind of like there's something on the horizon now. As far as Superman is concerned, other characters as well. There's no more sleeping on certain things, and there's also not going to be any tearing up already good things. Don't worry about that. But let me know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. Are you apprehensive? Were you a little bit confused at first, like some other people thinking that they're going to completely Feige this? Not that that's necessarily a bad thing for everyone. Some people, maybe you think that we should have a Feige MCU thing, even though it's not that. But let me know your thoughts regardless. Let me know what you think of the future of DC now. Like this video if you did enjoy it, and maybe consider subscribing for more rambly discussions on DC and Marvel news updates just like this. And follow me on Twitter, Instagram. I have all those links down in the description below, along with my merch store if you want to support me a little bit further. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the DC Cinematic Universe in the next video. Goodbye.